Okay, I'm Dave Roth of For the Cause Marketing. I'm supporting Carol and Nancy tonight with this wonderful event. So we have a nice program. The one rule that we have is you do not have to sit still during the program. If you should choose to go sign up to volunteer at the information table on my right, where they're waving, should you choose to go bid on the silent auction, please feel free to get up. There are volunteers back there. Should you choose, and I hope you do, to go to the Tiki Hut with our wonderful Hawaiian smoothies, which tonight only includes a special smoothie just for tonight called Heavenly Home, a smoothie designed with passion fruit for this organization. Please go to the back corner there, and Michelle will help you. And of course, we have great appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, cookies, coconut shrimp, and all kinds of things to make you feel, hopefully, that you're on the island and the beach of Oahu tonight. Having a great time here. Well, thank you for coming. What I want to do now is call up Carol Lewis, who is one of the co-founders of this wonderful organization.
Good evening, everyone. I want to wholeheartedly thank you, along with Nancy, for coming and being a part of this event. We have been working very hard to make this a reality. Healing Heart Hospitality House for people that have patients in the hospital that live too far to drive back and forth. You all know of the Ronald McDonald. It's kind of the same idea, but this is for patients that have other diagnoses other than just cancer. We want to reach out to as many people as we possibly can, but we are very grateful to everyone that has come tonight and supported us. And some people that aren't here, we reach out to them and say thank you to them. So please try to enjoy yourself as much as you can. Like Dave said, you don't have to sit still. This is a very relaxed atmosphere, and we want you to have fun and to tell your friends about us and tell them how important it is that we get this service going for the people here that are patients in the hospital, to give them a real sense of calmness and help them to heal even better. So thank you again for coming. And I didn't really prepare a speech. I probably should have. I wouldn't be stumbling. But please enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Also, let's hear, where's Nancy hiding, the other co-founder? Where are you, Nancy? There's Nancy Whalen right there at the back table. For those of you that aren't aware, maybe you were brought here by a friend or an acquaintance, or you're a student at Clark. Carol and Nancy have been working on this project for 10 years to help families in the area who have ill relatives in the hospital. And I think to stick with something like that long is just a wonderful testimony to the kind of people they are. So again, it's wonderful that you're here to support them. If you are unaware about what Healing Heart Hospitality House does, I really ask you to go to that back table near the painting, learn about the programs they already have going. What we've tried to do with Healing Heart Hospitality House in the last year or so is add programs that we can do now. Right now we don't have a house because we don't have enough money to buy a full house, a hospitality house. However, there are 4 programs already in operation, most of which are thanks to partners in this room, some of whom you're going to hear from in a little while, that are business partners, other supporters of ours. So in case you're unaware, even though there is no, quote, house yet, we have 4 programs that are operating. One is the Educational Outreach Program, where Carol and Nancy and board members and wonderful supporters go to various health fairs and other spots to promote what they're doing with the house so that families don't feel alone, don't feel lost if they have an ill relative. We also have a Support for Caregivers program, which will be caregivers groups that are meeting, and thanks to the generosity of Dodge Park Rest Home right here in Worcester, the first caregivers group has a home, which will be at Dodge Park. There'll be monthly meetings which you'll hear more about in the future. So that is available for families who maybe feel bad whether their relatives here or their relatives somewhere else and they're here to talk about how it feels to be a long-distance caregiver for someone who's ill. So thanks to some of our partners, we get to do things like that. We also have a Heartfelt Essentials program. You'll see a sample bag over on the organization program table back there, where we give out bags of everything from toothbrushes to restaurant certificates to parking passes to things that people will need while they're here visiting an ill relative. Because as Carol mentioned, and I'm sure the doctor will also talk about, people get a lot better if they have family around. So it's really important that we help them be able to do that and help people become healthier. So that's one of the areas where we can use a lot of help. If you know anybody with items like toothbrushes or toothpaste, items like restaurant cards, things like that, that can all help. We're also having that supported by, again, the wonderful folks at Dodge Park Rest Home, who are going to be giving complimentary meals to families who are visiting hospitalized relatives in the Worcester area, which I think is wonderful, as well as laundry services, free parking at their home with shuttle service to the hospital. Those are the kind of things that we can do to help each other, and hopefully let people also know the heart that a lot of the businesses in this area have. So the Heartfelt Essentials program, if you go back to that table, that's something almost anyone can help with in any small way to add something to the packages we can give to families. And we're really proud also to have begun our collaborative housing program. What we have already is 2 wonderful hotels in the area, the Sturbridge Host Hotel down in Sturbridge and the Holiday Inn in Fitchburg. It's only about 18 miles north, both of which we're donating room nights based on availability to families who suddenly find themselves in the Worcester area with an ill or hurt relative that have no place to stay. And we know of other wonderful hotelers in the area who will be joining us shortly to help us, again, put up other families. Because sometimes all a family needs is 1 or 2 days to catch their bearings, to rest, to get a shower, get a couple of meals, and then they're able to be better support for their families. So we're really thrilled that you're here. Of course, if anyone knows of a nice mansion in Worcester that they want to give to Healing Heart Hospitality House, we'll be happy to take that. But in the meantime, think of the incremental programs going on. Think of the businesses that will be publishing in our newsletters and on the website that are supporting Healing Heart Hospitality House. And please support them back. To date, again, our major donors are Dodge Park Rest Home and the Day Club, the Holiday Inn Fitchburg, and the Sturbridge Host Hotel. They're all serving our families, which we really appreciate. So, we're going to move on to the next part of the program now. I'm a very wordy person, but I'm trying to stay on schedule. We're very fortunate to have as our keynote speaker someone who already has supported Healing Heart Hospitality House enormously. We're talking about David Clive, MD of UMass Memorial Hospital. And I have a little information on him here. No, the awards are over there. Okay, sorry. Is that all right? Okay. Dr. Clive is a nephrologist, internal medicine at UMass Memorial Hospital. He supports Healing Heart Hospitality House with expertise in writing and editing our promotional materials. He and his wife, Dr. Gloria Vigliani, have also hosted family members and patients going to hospital facilities in the Boston area for an organization called Hospitality Homes. And now they're supporting this organization here in the Worcester area. This organization does good work and has been featured on the Liz Walker Show, which heightened the awareness of the need for having a hospitality house in Worcester. So we're very fortunate to have Dr. Clive here tonight to speak with us about the importance of family, the importance of having a place for family members to be supported while their loved ones are in the hospital. Now we can all help people be healthier and get out of the hospital quicker, not have to return to the hospital, etc. So without further ado, Dr. David Clive.
Good evening, everybody. I've already learned a lot since I've been here. First of all, I've learned that probably half the people here are named Dave. It's going to make things very interesting as we go along. I also did not realize that UMass medical students were going to be providing the entertainment tonight. And because I'm a very empathetic person, and because these poor people have had to listen to me drone on for hours and hours about various esoterica, I'm going to try to keep this short so that they don't get sick and run out of here. My first challenge in coming here, by the way, is that I had a lot of difficulty deciding this morning what I was going to wear, because the brochure said tropical theme, tropical night, which kind of made me want to take my Hawaiian shirt that I bought in Maui and put that on and come here. And on the other hand, Carol said, would you be our keynote speaker? And that sort of conjured up pictures of wearing a suit. I didn't know whether I was supposed to dress warm weather style or November in Worcester style. So what I did was I took a little bit of everything I had and I put it together. And so now I'm wearing an outfit that actually is totally inappropriate for any season of the year. But that said, that's my problem. You guys all look great. I want to just say that right away. Now, what I want to do is I want to start with a bit of a story. And I'm going to do this because there are some of you, I believe, who are not that familiar with the Hospitality House concept. Probably have a rough idea what it is already. And by the way, I really admire you folks for coming. I mean, some of us have been, kind of working for this for a while, but people who came just out of the goodness of their heart because it sounded like a good idea and something they might be interested in supporting. Thank you for being here. Okay, so here's the story. This is a couple of years ago. A patient came to UMass. This is a woman who was actually from Florida. She came up here to attend a meeting related to her job. What she did was she flew into Logan, got on a bus, came to Worcester, and she's waiting for a taxi to take her from the bus depot to the hotel she was supposed to stay at and where her meeting was located. She was only planning on being here for a day or two. When all of a sudden everything went black, she passed out, and she woke up in the emergency room at UMass Memorial where an ambulance had brought her. So this is already someone who's gotten a lot more out of this trip than she bargained for. So she wakes up at UMass. She's told about what happened. She didn't really remember anything. And she has an emergency CAT scan which shows that she has bled into her brain. Now this is a woman who's been in perfectly fine health previously. It was a totally unexpected catastrophe that happened to her. Now she's got a cerebral hemorrhage. And if that weren't bad enough, as they scrutinized her scans and later her MRI more closely, things got a little bit worse. She found out that the reason she had had this cerebral hemorrhage was because she had a brain tumor. And the brain tumor had caused the bleeding. So now we have this poor woman who is in a strange city, for her strange. She doesn't know anyone here. She's in a hospital. And all of a sudden, she's confronted with a life-threatening, possibly life-ending diagnosis. No one's around to help her process this. And to add to the complexity of this situation, the doctors start to file in, and you can imagine what it's like at a tertiary care center when you come in with a complex problem like that. You've got the neurosurgeon coming in, you've got the neurologist coming in, you've got the internal medicine people coming in. You have the intensive intensive care people going back and forth, nurses, nurse practitioners, clinicians, nutritionists, patient care representatives, possibly pastoral care people, social workers, people collecting billing and insurance information. They're all filing through. And this becomes, very rapidly, this escalates into an absolutely overwhelming situation for anyone. So, what does she do? Well, what she wanted to do was, I think, what any one of us would do, which is she wanted to speak to people that she was close to. Well, she's 1,500 miles from where she lives. Happily, she's got a sister in New England, and that sister is the person she's closest to in the world, really her only living relative. But the sister lives in Western Connecticut. And the sister herself is medically disabled. She's living on disability income and a small pension. And Worcester is about, 150 miles away from where she's living. Now she's threatened with the prospect of having to come, be with her sister, support her sister, as any of us would want to do, stay with her for what promises to be a long hospitalization, be at her side, help her work through the decisions. But where's she going to stay? Hotel, motel? That's not going to happen. As I told you, she's getting by on a shoestring. She doesn't have that kind of money. Where's she going to eat? Restaurants every night? I mean, even the UMass cafeteria was going to be too expensive for her after she's been doing this for 2 weeks. So that's the problem. Well, can we transport the patient to a place closer to where the sister lives, like Waterbury or Hartford or something? No. The patient is not in really good enough condition to move. She's awake and alert, but this is a complicated situation. This is one where potentially transporting her could make things a lot worse. So, that's the background. Now, I'm looking out at this group. I was kind of planning on asking how many people have confronted a serious illness themselves, or been hospitalized themselves with a serious illness, or have had a relative who's been hospitalized with a serious condition. But I realize I don't have to do that, because probably most of you have had that experience. And I don't think I need to get a show of hands either as to how you felt while that was going on, whether you were the patient or whether someone you loved very much was the patient. I'm going to guess, you can even nod if you want to, you don't have to raise your hand. I'm going to guess you maybe were scared. Okay, it's very, very forbidding, overwhelming to be faced with a condition that could change your life, maybe threaten your life, to be at the mercy of people you've never met before, medical students, residents, attending physicians, all these people that you don't know, and now all of a sudden your life is in their hands. They make all the rules, you're confined to bed. You don't know anybody. It's an alien environment. It's not a particularly warm and cozy place. I mean, we try to make the hospital pleasant, but let's face it, there are limits to what you can do when you hear page operators making announcements all the time, you hear telemetry alarms going off, see people running back and forth. There's no way you're going to make that a day in the Rose Garden. So, with that in mind, I think it's probably fair to say that you now all can appreciate why it's good to have a place where people can come to be with you when you're alone with an illness, or when someone you love is alone with an illness in a strange and very scary environment. And this is not only something that maybe makes a bad thing a little bit less bad, maybe makes it a little bit more pleasant, but it's actually, as was previously alluded, It's actually medically beneficial to have people around you that you love and trust when you are desperately ill. And there are now plenty of studies. You know, the data on this started appearing in the medical literature probably about 15, maybe 20 years ago. But there are now controlled studies that actually show that outcomes are better for people with serious illnesses of various types, intensive care illnesses, cancer, if they have people around them that can support them. And if they're married, and if they have a dog, maybe even having the dog come in. These things have a very salutary effect on health. Now, I'm not here to talk about dogs. I'm here to get back to the hospitality house. I came to UMass 31 years ago, and when I got here, this was a brand new institution. If we had any problem in the hospital, it was trying to keep the beds full, because we were the new kid on the block, and you know, it was competitive trying to get patients, especially when there were a lot of other hospital systems better established out there. Well, now it's 30 years later, and what's happened? The medical school has grown tremendously, not only in terms of the services it provides and in terms of its campus size and its capacity, but the merger with Memorial has made it the second largest healthcare system in New England. And by the way, the first place one, which is the Harvard Partners system, is an unbelievable giant. So if we're second to them, we're pretty darn big. These things draw patients. Now we not only are not having to beat the bushes looking for patients, but it seems like half the time we have more patients than we can accommodate in the hospital. And we have people coming in from all over. I take morning report many days out of the month with the residents on the medicine service, which means that I listen to the accounts of the cases that have come in the night before. And so often what I hear is that someone came up here while they were passing through on their way from Florida or California, or they were heading to Canada, or they were visiting relatives, they were here for a meeting. We are a center of biotech and high-tech industry in this part of the state. The concentration of businesses that keep people coming to the Worcester area, to central New England, has grown. All these forces kind of conspire to make it more and more likely that people are going to come here who are not close to home, or certainly not near where their families are. And as you can probably infer from what Carol already has said, and Dave, the other Dave, there's just not enough hospitality beds yet in the city. Even though we're smaller than Boston, we've got disproportionately far fewer hospitality arrangements available to people. I think the only other two I know about outside of the proposed Healing Heart are pretty much restricted to cancer patients and very limited in capacity. So that's the situation, that's the scenario, that's the need, that's the tableau that we're looking out on here. Tremendous numbers of patients funneling into our city, into our medical systems, both the UMass Memorial and the Worcester Medical Center system. And it is inevitable that people are going to need to have visitors, and visitors for prolonged stays. And I think that a hospitality house is not only a great idea, but I think it's just a plain, decent thing for a community to be able to offer to its medical visitors. Now, I met Carol in 2002. 10 years ago. And I remember at the very first time I met her that we were finding out about her, and she mentioned to me, she just, when I asked her about what she does, and she had said that she was in the process of retiring from UMass Memorial, but she had this great next chapter of her life that she was looking forward to. And her face just lit up as she started to tell me about this wonderful idea for a hospitality house. I have to tell you, I was very, very moved by that. And it was shortly after that that I met Nancy Whalen through Carol. And it's funny, my mother has this saying that you can actually really tell a lot about people's character by how they look. And Nancy and Carol, I think, just have these lovely, wonderful, beautiful faces, and frankly, I would do anything they wanted me to do to help them realize this dream they're so dedicated to. I trust them, I admire them. They ain't gonna give up on this. They've learned a lot, they've accomplished a lot. It's been an uphill battle to try to get together the resources that are needed to actualize this thing, but it is going to happen. And I can't think of two more extraordinary people to spearhead this. They are generous of spirit, they're real smart, and they're real dedicated. So this is by way of me telling you that if there is any interest that you have in joining forces with Healing Heart to help us develop the programs you've heard about and hopefully soon realize the presence of a house in Worcester where people can stay in the hours of their greatest need. Please do it, follow through on it, and really you couldn't find really two better people besides Carol and Nancy to march behind. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to cut this a little. I'm not going to go on any longer. The students know that I'm capable of doing this for hours on end. But thank you very much for your attention, and above all, thank you for being here.
Well, Dr. Clive said it. This is really important, and that's why Carol and Nancy do it. And again, one more round of applause for Dr. Clive, please. From the doctor, you heard from Carol a little bit about why Carol and Nancy started this, why they do this. But we do want to give you a few testimonials from people who have already been affected by the issue of people being in the hospital. So I have a testimony here that Nancy asked me to read, and then Nancy will come up and read a story that she has. Right, Nancy? Okay, good. Just making sure. And it really connects to what Dr. Clive talked about, where someone's traveling on business and all of a sudden you're stuck in a strange city. And those of us that know Worcester know it's a strange city, but imagine if you didn't know Worcester. It's about the joke for the night, sorry, Chuck. How many of you travel for business or leisure on a regular basis? Imagine, if you will, that you are on a vacation with a significant other and that he or she becomes very ill and must be hospitalized. What do you do? Where do you stay? This happened to me in November 2004. My husband had been hospitalized twice during the summer, and I seized the opportunity for us to get away for a stress-free weekend to experience fall foliage. So I could be here in New England. In this case, it was a free trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee at a meetings industry event, and I was looking forward to a romantic weekend. The morning after we arrived, my husband had a terrible headache, and I drove him to the ER of a nearby hospital in Sevierville. He was diagnosed with a burst blood vessel in the brain, and he was rushed by ambulance to Fort Sanders Regional Hospital in Knoxville, where he immediately was operated on. I returned to Gatlinburg to check out of the hotel and drove to Knoxville to be with him. The operation was successful, and I slept on a recliner in the waiting room for several days. Fortunately, there were showers for family members as well as coffee, and I slept in my clothes when I was not in the room with him. I only knew one person in Knoxville, Laura Barron, a professional speaker, had spoken at a conference that I organized. Otherwise, I was completely on my own. The physicians could not tell me how long my husband would remain in the hospital and told me to take it, quote, one day at a time. That's quite difficult for someone who is accustomed to being in control and planning long range. What does a meeting planner do when she's in a strange city? Take a site inspection of hotels and convention centers? I contacted the Knoxville Visitor and Convention Bureau to take a site inspection and was fortunate that Tracy O'Connor, a sales rep, met me at the hospital. When Tracy heard my plight, she immediately called her aunt, Sarah, executive director of the Fellowship Center, to check availability of space for me. In Knoxville, the hospitality house is referred to as a fellowship center. I was familiar with Ronald McDonald houses, but I had never heard of hospitality houses for out-of-town families of patients. In my children's assistance, I had checked into the nearest hotel, a Days Inn, located about a 15-minute walk from the hospital. Several days later, there was an early morning fire, and the hotel closed down indefinitely. Fortunately, I got a telephone call from Sarah telling me that a room had opened up for me. It's difficult to explain what the Fellowship Center or hospitality house has meant to me. My husband remained in the ICU in Knoxville for nearly 5 months, and he was not well enough to be transferred by medevac. I commuted between Knoxville and Charlotte, returning home to pay bills and review correspondence before rushing back to Knoxville to be with him. The services provided by the hospitality house and their staff, as well as the volunteers, was a godsend that helped me endure the challenges that my family and I were confronted with. First, they offered me an apartment to stay in with a kitchen. Second, they had a washing machine and dryer, which enabled me to do my laundry without searching for a laundromat. Third, they had a pantry with donated groceries that I could select for meals. Fourth, volunteers prepared and served lunch 3 days a week. And fifth, they offered, most importantly, fellowship, hence the name, with other people who are undergoing similar challenges. I'm not used to taking charity, I'm used to giving to others. The emotional support during challenging times helped me to get the strength to motivate and inspire my husband to improve each day, which is exactly what Dr. Clive was referring to, about how family members can help people get better. I hung photographs and motivational sayings on the walls and the ceiling above his head. We had a dream catcher hanging above him and a mezuzah on the door of his room. The 2 chaplains who attended lunch regularly at the Fellowship Center dropped by to pray with me and my husband. It didn't matter that they were Christian and we were Jewish. We wanted to cover all our bases. I wanted to repay the hospitality that total strangers gave me in a time of need. I watched a local television program requesting nominations for the top 25 Afro-Americans in Knoxville, and I nominated Reggie Butler, one of the chaplains. He was selected, and articles in the newspaper identified him as working with the Fellowship or Hospitality Center. I started attending services of the congregation in the area the first week that my husband was hospitalized. No one in the congregation had ever heard of a hospitality house who knew what they were. Several women visited me in my quarters and began donating meals for the group lunches, which helped it grow. My husband, soon after, was well enough to be transferred on March 31st, nearly 5 months after he was hospitalized, and then to a specialty hospital, and finally a rehabilitation hospital. I toured 2 hospitality houses which provide accommodation for family members. While sitting in the waiting room, I chatted with other family members and informed them of the services provided by the hospitality house that they were unaware of. Hospitality houses do amazing work, and there are many ties to the hospitality industry. They run mini hotels, after all. Some are not even so mini. I often collected hotel soap, shampoos, etc. to bring to the hospitality house so they would have supplies for guests with no disposable income. I have become an advocate for the importance of hospitality houses and the need for greater recognition within the hospitality industry. The International Board of Hospitality Houses will be meeting in Charlotte in June, and I've offered to assist them on their international meeting as my way of giving back. My husband passed away on October 16th because his body just gave out, but I am grateful for the phenomenal medical care that he received and for the hospitality house that I received support as much as he did. Now it is my turn to reach out to people who share my plight and help them by supporting the new hospitality house being built in Charlotte. Thank you for allowing me to share my experiences with you today. As you can see from this woman's story, what this organization does is so important. And a lot of the items we listed 1 through 5 that she talked about are exactly what the programs that already have started with Healing Heart Hospitality House are doing. You know, from the meals that Dodge Park is helping with, the parking, the washing facilities, the wonderful gifts of lodging that the Holiday Inn and the Sturbridge Host are giving, and the fellowship. That's probably the most important. That's what the caregivers groups that'll be starting next month at Dodge Park will really help with. So it's a wonderful story that she told. Even though her husband isn't here, this woman from Tennessee is helping others to have an easier time with the plight of relatives who are sick. I'd like to now ask Nancy Whalen, co-founder of Healing Heart Hospitality House, to come up and tell a story that she'd like to share with you. Thank you for your patience. And don't forget, there's still heavenly smoothies. Get your souvenir cup.
I want to thank everybody for coming today and supporting our mission. Like Dave said, and Dave, kind of like Daryl, but
Thanks.
we love them and we can't thank them enough for supporting us. And we can't thank you enough for coming to support our mission. Like they said, we've been working on this for 10 years and everyone said, oh, that again? But we're still striving. And the story that Dave just read was from the website of the National Association of Hospitality Houses. They have over 150 houses across the country, and they support new organizations that are trying to have the same mission. And when we first thought of this, when we went to the first convention, we talked to the doctor that was the board of directors of the National Association of Hospitality House. And he asked us, well, how many beds do you have in this year? I said, oh, about 1,500. And he said, you don't need a house, you need a vacant hotel. Which, you know, gave us the idea that we really needed help. It wasn't going to be able to have a little house or a couple of bedrooms in our own home. We needed to establish a house. Then we went and we met with people from Sherry's House in Hope Lodge, and they said, please help us. We have to turn families away all the time because they specialize in helping only the families that have patients with cancers. So if you have an auto accident, or you have a stroke, or you have an orthopedic problem, or need a transplant, you have to go to a hotel, or you sit beside the patient in a chair trying to support your loved one. Then we talked to the social workers at the hospital, and they've given us a few examples of families that could have used the house, and these are what they gave us. Over the holidays, I had 2 families that have utilized this resource, could have utilized this resource. First, I had a patient whose family all lived in Ohio. Her condition deteriorated, and her elderly mother came to be at the bedside for her passing. She was here for several days and also stayed at a hotel at great cost, receiving no emotional support other than when she was here at the hospital. The other was a similar case. Elderly patient in the 7 ICU. Her daughter lived in Burlington, Vermont, and traveled down every 3 or 4 days and stayed for 2 or 3 days, often sleeping in the waiting room or in a chair at her mother's bedside. The patient eventually expired after 2 very lengthy ICU stays. Just recently, a male patient who lived in Connecticut came to the 6th ICU. His family was located all in Missouri, and 3 of them, an uncle, aunt, and grandmother, drove 24 hours to the hospital. Exhausted and grief-stricken, they were faced with the challenge of where to stay and were provided with a list of hotels that they give at the hospital. They stayed for 3 days because that was all they could afford. Patient Saman, who had a substance abuse issue, and the family was wanting to remain to support him but could not. I would say the majority of our patients I have worked with in the ICU are from out of town. Many of their family members stay anywhere from 12 to 24 hours a day, often sleeping in the ICU waiting rooms, on the floors, or pulling furniture together to make a little bed. It is the most unfortunate situation. Last summer, a mother came with her daughter from California to be with her dying son. He was in his 40s with renal and liver failure. They had no support in this area. As you can imagine, the isolation compounds the emotional impact of death. So these are just a few of the stories that the social workers have given us in the need for their hospitality. And we just can't thank you enough for coming to support our mission. And we hope that someday we will have a house. Thank you.
I'm sure you can all feel through Nancy's words the heart that both Nancy and Carol have for this organization. And of course, we also want to thank the wonderful board members and people who have supported these 2 wonderful women over the last 10 years and will continue to do so. And we welcome a lot of the new people here tonight who are starting to support this important cause. Being a parent of college students myself, luckily I live in Massachusetts and they go to Clark. I can only imagine what would happen. My son actually got burned at a restaurant last summer, working on the grill. He was rushed to Worcester. Luckily, I live in Pittsburgh. What if I was in New Jersey or Kentucky or Tennessee? I can only imagine the challenge of finding a place to stay, of packing clothes, who's going to think of doing that, etc. So we appreciate your support. One thing I do want to make clear is the support doesn't have to be huge. We're not just looking for a free mansion. They'll be happy to take one. But little things like helping with our heartfelt essentials, helping with a restaurant card that you may get and not use, things like that can help. Helping us get toothbrushes, helping us get blankets for people, helping us get gas cards. Any of those types of little things, they might be little to you or big to a family member who doesn't just need the items, but they need to see that they're not alone in this. So thank you. So we are going to honor 4 couples tonight, 4 couples of people, not all necessarily couples. Don't want to confuse people. But I want to thank everybody in this room. There's one thing I've learned in the year or so I've been working with Carol and Nancy, and I work with many, many different nonprofits, many executive directors. This is a heartfelt exercise for these 2 wonderful women. I remember sitting with them and talking about, okay, this is what we need to do fundraising-wise and so on. And I just couldn't find their major donor list because I knew how much money they spent to do this. And they finally admitted to me, well, that's because the 2 major donors were them. Yes, other people help, but they give of their time and of their treasure and of their heart. Really wonderful people with support from their families, etc. So your added support will help keep them going, and thank you very much. So we have 4 couples or 4 organizations to honor tonight. The first one I'll talk about because they weren't able to be here tonight. Donald and Doris Koopman of Koopman Lumber in Whitensville, Uxbridge, Grafton, and Milford have encouraged Healing Heart Hospitality House with business guidance and support. They both do so much for the community where they live and travel for pleasure and help others everywhere, and they're so busy helping others they couldn't be here tonight. But in their stead, could we just have a round of applause for the Koopmans? But we are very fortunate to have the other 3 awardees represented here tonight. And I hope Carol and Nancy will come up so we can do pictures and give the certificate and so on. Carol, Nancy? Carol, you're going in the wrong direction. This direction. Carol? Okay. She's running. Okay. The first two people we'll call up in just a moment, and their certificates right on the table, Nancy, along with the nice gifts you have for them, are Willard and Helen Banning. They're the former owners of the Banning Flower Shop in Whitensville, Mass. Now retired, they give tirelessly of their time and talents to so many causes. They have not only believed in Healing Heart Hospitality House, but have been great helpers, encouragers, and supporters to the organization and to Nancy and Carol. So with that, we love to have Helen and Willard Banning come up, please. Okay, Willard has to leave, but Helen is here. If we get a picture with the two of you, with Helen and the certificate, which is on the table, Carol. Get your certificate. Here we go. Again, Helen and Willard again. And needless to say, they don't only have helped in the past. Helen is working the registration table tonight. Those are the kind of supporters that really keep Nancy and Carol going. Our second awardee for the evening, and we're calling these awards the 2012 Healing Hearts Heroes. So we really appreciate their support. You've already heard from him, but Dr. David Clive and his lovely wife, Gloria Bigliani, again, don't just support the organization, the reason for it existing, they've hosted families themselves for the Hospitality House in Boston. And that's the lifeline to the medical community that Healing Heart Hospitality House really needs. As you heard from his words, his heart is right in there. So David and Gloria, could you come up and get your award? Gloria's in Cambridge, but David will take the applause double. Beautiful. He's got a girl on each arm. Thank you, Doctor. Okay, the next award, it's actually a couple of wonderful men, but not a couple. I just want to make that clear. What's that? 25 years. 25 years. Congratulations on your anniversary. What's really neat about this organization and about Carol and Nancy is they really understand collaboration and working together. So one of the things we want to do in helping advise them how to grow this organization and start programs going even before the house was where do we find a heart-centered business partner or business partners in the community who will help them do this work. And we were really fortunate to bump into Mika Shalev and Ben Hurlinger of Dodge Park Rest Home, right here in Worcester. They are people with hearts as big as this room. When we went and said, well, we need some help. Could you possibly do parking help or shuttle help or maybe meals or maybe host our caregivers groups or maybe laundry facilities, etc., etc. They didn't say pick one, they said yes, we'll do them all. So a lot of the programs that are going right now that have started are because of the wonderful gentlemen who own Dodge Park Rest Home right here in Worcester. As an example, a lot of families, as Dr. Clive said, can't even afford to drive or park at the hospital. Well, they'll be able to park at Dodge Park and have a free shuttle from Dodge Park to the hospital. They can do their laundry there. They can have lunch in their beautiful dining room. Their caregivers groups will be hosted at Dodge Park. That's just a small part of what they're doing. They're also connecting us with other hotelers and other places that people can stay to really support this cause. And that's what it's all about, is businesses doing good for the community as they're growing. They're growing and helping their community and helping Carol and Nancy make these dreams come true. So I'm really thrilled to give this Business Partner of the Year award on behalf of Carol and Nancy And on behalf of Mikhail Shalev, the co-owner of Dodge Park, who's in Israel right now, to his partner of 25 years, Ben Herlinger, please come on up. Hugs are allowed. Ben, would you like to say a couple words?
Yeah, I thought my partner, my business partner, went to Israel to visit his parents. I didn't think that he ran away and left me doing this. He knows I'm not that type talking in front of people. But I think that this program is so beautiful and we would love to participate. That you're honoring us for something that we haven't done. It reminds me a story about this old man goes to the Pentagon and says, you know, I have an idea. I said, what? They said, well, tanks will run on water. I said, great idea. How? It was my idea, now I'll do it. And so we have a lot of ideas that you have to do it. But I'd like to really, today we met several people, and I'd like to recognize Paul Marcelina, the general manager of Hilton downtown. Round of applause for Paul. We spoke also with the Residents Inn, and they are going to be partners too. And
Yeah, I hear that. From the floor.
I met today with Night Limousine, and they are in too, so they will provide some transportation. And for those who don't know the Washburn House, but the Washburn House is operated now as a hospice by Holy Trinity, and we hope to get them into. But the most important thing is, I'd like to recognize the employees of Dodge Park because you're only as good as your employees. And we couldn't have done anything without this beautiful group that is sitting here. And I think it's
So as you see, the support of Ben and Mika and everybody at Dodge Park is never ending. They've just added to their support right now. That's wonderful. That means we now have hotels in Worcester proper, as well as in North Central and South Valley, to help families with members in Worcester County hospitals. That's really wonderful. And transportation can help a lot. Dr. Clive talked about a woman who had probably had a hard time traveling, disabled. That could be a help that Knights and other people could do. So it just takes a little bit of creativity to make this fly. And that's really one of the things that I thought of when we were planning this event together. The important part is that everybody can do a little bit to help families. Just because you don't have a house or a mansion yet doesn't mean we can't help families. We can each do our little part. And you're all doing that by being here tonight. Okay, we're going to pull the winner of the 50-50 tonight. So get out your white tickets, because those are the only ones we have. So if you have a different color, it doesn't matter. It's from some other bingo game or something. And we'll have one of our students who came to our event tonight, Julia Richardson from Clark. Why don't you pull the winner? And if you pull yours, they will probably kill you on the way out the door. Dig deep. Thank you very much. Want to read the number? Okay, go.
401111.
Wow. 4 ones at the end. 1, 1, 1, 1. We have a winner. Winner? Thank you, Julia. So the winner will get half of the cash, the other half goes goes to Healing Heart Hospitality House. There you are. We believe you. I think. Okay, we do believe you. Congratulations. That's a lucky number. 1111 at the end. Might want to go play the lottery when you go home tonight. So we thank you for your support of the 50-50. We're going to start collecting the silent auction bid boards here in a second, and we'll announce the winners and then do our closing, right? Oh, please. Please. It's your event.
I just want to make one announcement for the orchestra. They are having an event this Friday night at the Lazar Center. It's a free concert, so if you enjoyed what you heard tonight, you'll hear more then. So support them.
As they support us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to start. If we could grab the first few auction boards. You can fight and write another bid down if you want while they're walking up here. That's okay. If you haven't had a chance, also, don't forget you can visit the programs table right over to my right below the painting. She's waving again. That's where you can learn about each of the 4 active programs right now at Healing Heart Hospitality House. Every small bit of assistance can be used and will be much appreciated. Okay, I'm going to start reading winners of the silent auction. If you could, once we read it off, I'll give you the board. We do the first 4. The auction sheet will be over at the registration table. That's where you can cash out. So, the first item is the tropical theme basket. Tropical theme basket was won by Lisa Huntington. Congratulations, Lisa. Are you here? Lisa Huntington. The winner of the 4-hour limousine ride, and I'm sure she'll be happy to have some friends go along, new friends, Katie Bellata, board member of Healing Heart. Thank you, Katie. There was a big battle for this one. The winner of the holiday lottery tree, Donna Huntington, I believe. Donna Huntington. The winner of the martini mixer. So that's where drinks will be tomorrow. Court Lippy. And I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Okay? Okay, are there any more boards ready to come up? Can I have some more bid sheets, please? Can I get some more of the what? Oh, sorry. Okay, the winner of the Baby Bear Chime, this really beautiful gift, Lynn Strid. Congratulations, Lynn. The winner of the beverage pitcher, Julie Cudlon. Please come up here, grab your bid sheet, and take it to the cashier table. The winner of the silver-plated pitcher, Julie Cudlon. Okay, she's backed up. Give her a second. Here's the plated picture. Who are we looking for? Katie, yours is right up here. Katie. Okay, some additional winners. we have the mini cake cookbook, one by Wendy, starts with an R, Robbins. I think it's Wendy Robbins. Ah, good. Okay. Here you are, Carol. The winner of the jewelry certificate, Marcia Bernard. Does anyone know? The phone number ends with 5671. Does that help? Okay, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. The winner of the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee. Oh, somebody's wife will be happy. Me. I'll be out of the doghouse for a day. That's good. Okay. The winner of the Worcester Sharks Family Package, Meredith Lewis. I wonder where that name came from. And the winner of 2 very good seats, November 30th for the Boston Celtics at TD Garden, Lisa Huntington. Is that all the boards? Okay, that I believe is all of our auction items. Thank you so much for everyone that bid. There are some items that did not get minimum bids, so we will hold on to those items for the time being and put them online. If you feel you bid on something above the minimum, please check back there. We'll be happy to correct it. In the meantime, we really appreciate all your support. I'd like to bring back up Carol or Nancy for some closing remarks. Please. Carol or Nancy? Carol or Nancy or both? And again, we really appreciate your support tonight. More importantly, we appreciate your future support. Once more, could we just have a wonderful round of applause for Carol and Nancy for their efforts.
As you leave tonight, I hope that you will take with you the heart of this organization and that remember that there are people out there that really need these services and that, as we have said and tried to say throughout the night, that a little goes a long way. If it's just one volunteer effort that you would do to maybe put baskets together or donate a parking ticket, just one small thing which is just huge in the eyes of people that are really in need of these services. So thank you very much for coming. And we are very, very at awe of how you have supported us through all these years of striving to get this hospitality house up and running. And now that we can do things for patients, families, before we actually have buildings, we're even more dedicated and more encouraged to keep it going. Thank you.